The giants may be sovereign, but the game is still called Don't Starve. Don't get slapped by a big slappy fella, don't succumb to the darkness, don't lose your mind, don't freeze, don't burn, don't slip in the rain, because if you break your back, I'm afraid there's no workers' compensation in this nightmarish land. That's right friends, I played 100 days of Don't Starve, Reign of Giants. First up, character selection.
Wicker buttocks. Robot or wicker butt? Robot or wicker butt? Robot or wicker butt?
It was a tough choice, but I went with the librarian. Despite being unable to sleep, she apparently knows many things, so that sounded impressive to me. I had a quick look at the books she can craft, and I got on the move.
Okay, so I've played the base game of this. This is Reign of Giants. It has 2 extra seasons, extra enemies.
I collected twigs, grass, and any food I spied, and began my journey with a dream to stave off hunger while maintaining my health and sanity. I stumbled upon this wormhole, so I headed through.
This was not in the base game. Oh, a cat coon. Oh, I'm wet. My wetness is increasing. That was not in the base game either. What does that mean if I'm wet?
I found a sealed mine entrance, this glorious Maxwell statue featuring a mech horsey, and I kept on the move looking to unveil the map as quick as possible as I collected flint, rocks, and gold.
Oh! What are you? Whoa! Get him!
The mole rat eluded me, and I didn't want to waste too much time chasing the cheeky fella, so I carried on, whipping out a torch as true darkness fell on the land. And I got a little cold.
Bro, is it actually that cold? Why is it so cold? I don't have any wood. Bro, I'm gonna die of cold on the first night. This didn't happen in the base game.
As you can tell, I was a big fan of complaining about stuff that wasn't in the base game. Fortunately, it wasn't quite deadly cold, so I made it through the night and began day 2 collecting some wood and charcoal.
Okay, what are we doing? What are we doing? I don't remember how to play this game. Too stressful. What do I need for the science machine? 1 more log.
Literally nothing had happened yet, and I was already stressed, apparently. Good signs, good signs. I whacked down a science machine and made myself a backpack, and I noticed some new crafting recipes like the insulated pack and
bucket of poop. What?
I made a shovel and a hammer. I used the hammer to break down the science machine, and I continued on my way. I stumbled upon some pigmen angrily defending their berry crop, and I got hopelessly wet, and eventually just a bit chilly. I was hungry too, so I whacked down a campfire on which I cooked up a bunch of berries and carrots, and so the blessed fire attended to both my frosty toes and my growling stomach. I struck out north along this path.
Come on. All that cardio, surely you're not freezing anymore.
I have no idea why I didn't build a fire to warm up and dry off, but who can decipher the mind of a goose on the loose? I did eventually burn down some trees for warmth though.
Let's steal some pigs' houses. Apologies to the pigs.
This is one of the key things I'd been looking for overnight, a target for my urge to demolish. Breaking down pig houses yields planks, cut stone, and a pigskin, all immensely useful materials. Rampant pigman homelessness rates is a small price to pay for such a bounty. I admired this cat coon for a bit.
What's it doing?
I tracked down some more gold and plonked down an alchemy machine and looked into clothing options that might protect me from the rain. I couldn't craft any for now, so I made a football helmet and log suit, which are at least strong defensively. I broke down the alchemy station and headed north to see what I could find.
Oh crap, I don't have enough for another light. I'm actually dead.
I managed to make it back to some trees, so I burned those to keep the light up until dawn. So I didn't die, but it's safe to say I wasn't having the strongest start. I was bamboozled by the rain because I was too blind to notice I could craft an umbrella.
It's always raining.
I'd also barely collected any grass and twigs, which are the most fundamental materials for exploration as they can be used to craft torches. And I was kind of hungry, with literally 0 food in my bags. I foraged a few berries and carrots, cooked them and filled my belly, before brushing up on my combat skills by slapping some pigs with my spear.
Ah, why there's so many of you?
The go-to fighting strategy in this game is kiting, moving away to dodge their attacks and ducking back in to get some hits in while the enemy is recovering. I can't say I performed well in this particular melee, but my armor kept me healthy and I managed to kill 2 pigs, collecting 2 meat. I stumbled upon this little farm area, so I decided to set up a base. Down went the alchemy machine, a crockpot, and I planted some seeds in these farm plots. I collected a bunch of materials from the surrounding area, placed a garland of flowers on my head for some sanity gain, and placed down a fire pit too. I tried making a crockpot meal out of 3 berries and a twig, and I said,
I don't know what to do, man. I don't know what to do.
Which was accurate because the meal produced was wet goop.
Wet goop. What? I can't cook when it's wet?
This made me incorrectly assume I couldn't cook meals in the crockpot during the rain, so I cooked all the food I had on the fire to keep my hunger at bay for now.
I think I just heard the hounds. The hounds are coming. My sanity's so low, dude.
The giant's downward arrow on my sanity is thanks to my extreme wetness and the dark of night teaming up to make me lose my mind. That actually sounds like a historically accurate description of when I used to wet the bed before I finally grew out of that last year, much to my wife's relief. You know what else is historically accurate? The World War II battles in Enlisted, the sponsor for today's video. Enlisted Enlisted is a free multiplayer shooter featuring large-scale combat with dozens of soldiers, light vehicles, armored vehicles, and aviation. I am endlessly fascinated by history, so it's quite surreal being in the middle of the action in distinct campaigns such as the Battle for Moscow and Invasion of Normandy. With true-to-history uniforms, vehicles, and equipment, squad mode means you equip and command your soldiers, and you can freely assume control of any individual soldier in your squad at the press of a button. So you can stay longer in the action, with respawn only necessary after your entire squad is down. And each soldier has customizable equipment and skills, and these abilities can be advanced through experience. Enlisted is available on PC, Xbox Series X and S, and PS5 with cross-platform support, and no purchase is needed. Simply follow the link below to download and play for free. And when you do, you'll receive a bonus 3 days of premium time and several orders for troops and weapons. Okay friends, back to Reign of Giants. I took out the lone hound that appeared to torment me, and headed out to implement the only sanity restoring strategy I knew of, the garland plus parasol combo, so I feel pretty while picking flowers. I fought some spiders and collected some monster meat plus my first silk. I spied another of these areas with the mech chess pieces, and I found this bone graveyard kind of biome.
What is this biome? Tumbleweed?
There are a bunch of hungry looking hounds too, so I decided to steer clear. I ran back to my base through the night, and when I got there I cooked meatballs using monster meat and 3 berries. I harvested my crops, cooked an eggplant on the fire, and as day 7 dawned, I finally felt like my food situation was somewhat under control. I spent the day collecting. I placed down my first chest, and as the rain returned, I was pleased that I'd finally remembered parasols were a thing, because it was of course helping protect me from the rain.
You can hear the sound of the pitter-pattering.
I headed out exploring, finding myself in this savannah where I ended up in an epic battle with a few spiders.
Why are there so many spiders?
As darkness fell, I gave up on the fight and continued exploring the savannah. But I of course had to hold my torch, so the parasol was no longer keeping me dry, which was problematic.
Am I gonna die of wetness?
I kept burning random tufts of grass to keep warm, but my sanity was being absolutely shredded. And my flowery parasol decayed into rot, and I lacked the flowers to make another, so I couldn't even shield myself from the rain once the sun rose. But I found what I needed, a spider's nest. I took some 8-legged weirdos out, stole their silk, and finally made myself an umbrella.
Okay, and then the rain ends as soon as I make my umbrella.
I spent the day picking flowers, slowly restoring sanity 5 points per petal plucked, and I relaxed by a fire to dry out. And when I found this glorious headless statue and its random bounty of flowers, I was grateful, but I had to admit,
It's the only way I know how to deal with sanity is pick flowers. I just don't think it's the play.
flower picking is definitely not a sustainable strategy for sanity management, so I needed to find a better solution.
Oh, there's some free gears. Ow! He clocked me from like 5 miles away. She can't sleep, so I can't deal with sanity that way. What's another good way to deal with sanity? Fashionable clothes. So I farm more spiders and try and make a nice fashion melon. An eyeball plant. Oh, they might get me some freebies. Yeah. No, don't eat the spider meat. I want it. What is that? Wet Weber's skull. What the heck? Wet Weber's skull. What does that mean?
I still have no idea what that is. Feel free to enlighten me in the comments.
Should I get in some fights with bees? Is that a dumb idea?
It was in fact a glorious idea, except maybe not in the pouring rain.
No honey. I got the bundling wrap blueprint already.
I destroyed the hive and claimed some beeswax and honey. I continued cooking up meals, and I wandered off to collect flowers and fight some spiders.
Oh crap, I forgot about those ones that jump at you. Terrifying.
They broke my helmet, so I made a fresh one and took them on, collecting a bunch of monster meat with which to execute my default food strategy, infinite meatballs. I attempted to fight an army of pigs again on day 10, but I soon realized this was a bad idea and instead headed off to explore. I collected as I went, and I destroyed another pig's digs. And in the morning, hounds. Actually, I exaggerate, just hound. I whacked it on the nose. I continued cooking, meatballs and honey nuggets cut with filler-like berries and mushrooms, and I decided I wanted to try and get some jerky happening, as I knew the dried meats are a decent source of sanity, and so I wanted to trap some rabbits.
Collapsed rabbit hole. Should I dig it?
So the rabbit plan wasn't gonna work, because apparently their holes collapse in spring.
What about those frog ponds? The frog was good. I saw one frog pond.
And so I went in search of some froggies.
Oh, it's the Pig King. Hello. Maxentius. Probus. They've got names. They've got ridiculous names, but they've got names. Trebonius? Trebonianus.
I stole their grass, and then did something which I'm pretty sure is illegal.
I just murdered the cutest thing in the game. What have I done? It gave me meat though.
I found a frog pond and whacked down a trap, and this pond was right near a bunch of piggies, including the Pig King, so this seemed like a great spot for a new base. I began exploring the area, keeping to the edge of the map for now. I found another flowery headless angel statue as I collected my way around this birchy biome.
What the hell is this? Wet Glommer's statue. What does that do?
I tried to whack the statue with my hammer, but I had no luck, so I was bewildered. Things were looking up though, as I'd managed to bring my sanity up above 150 with some diligent flower picking and garland plus parasol shenanigans, and I found a touchstone, which will give me 1 free respawn should I die. These gruesome pig heads on sticks also yield some juicy pig skins. By evening, I'd explored the biome and replenished my stock of materials. I placed down a drying rack and strung up the meat to dry into jerky, and I placed down a crock pot too. Except I had no more meat, so I decided to remedy that.
Can I farm these every night? Maybe I can farm these every night, because if I don't dig up the burrow, right? So if I do this, yeah, I think another one will come out.
So that was another replenishing meat source just nearby. I placed a fire pit and 2 more drying racks, and in the morning I caught my first frog and earned some delicious frog legs. And then a most glorious find.
Alright, things are looking up. I feel like I had such a dicey start. I was just stressing. Where's your friends, Beefalo?
I got into an epic battle with 2 of the big hoofers, and they sure do drop a lot of meat and wool, so I was pleased.
Alright, things are looking up. Things are looking up after the various finds I have made.
I returned to my original base and availed myself of its resources, including collecting my first jerky from this drying rack I'd set up earlier. And after stuffing my bags, I headed back to the new base, which I decided would be my true base of operations. On the way, I took out some spiders, because monster meat and silk are always handy to have, and I chopped, cooked, and made myself a fishing rod. But my nighttime fishing session was interrupted by these spindly hands.
Go away, you silly musical noodles.
I made a couple more drying racks and strung up the fish I'd caught before fishing some more, and collecting some frogs too.
Alright, can I do... This is probably such a waste, but whatever. I think fish sticks are a thing.
I headed back to the first base to make use of the alchemy machine, where I made a ham bat, a most excellent weapon for meaty slaps, and I broke down the machine. And when I returned, I found fish sticks had indeed materialized in the crock pot.
Okay, I've got 104 health. Now I've got 144. Okay, fish sticks are awesome for food.
I spent the night cooking up a storm and getting my inventory sorted, and in the morning I fought off a few hounds with the help of this pig man. I lured a couple of beefalo away from the herd and claimed their meaty spoils before returning to a rather outrageous number of amphibious friends.
Oh, frogs. Where'd this frog come from? There's frogs everywhere. What the hell? Where'd all these frogs come from?
I concluded they must spawn like crazy during storms, so I whacked down a second trap and lured them to their doom over and over.
It's a frog bounty.
Some lightning burned down one of my drying racks, which was rude, but nothing could contain my joy at the plague of frogs.
This frog nonsense is beautiful. Let's go back to sleep.
By the time morning came, I had a whopping 19 frog legs. I dried off and ate some jerky to restore a little sanity, I strung up a bunch more meat to jerkify, and I chopped some trees and made a second chest. But as you can see, my sanity situation was still dicey, and so I once again resorted to picking flowers to try and keep my mind intact. I returned to the old base and claimed some jerky, which restored a solid 15 sanity right as lightning struck the bushes right next to me. And so I struck out in search of gold, because I needed to make some lightning rods so I could put an end to all these errant lightning strikes. On the way, I took out this headbutting horse and claimed a couple of gears, and I discovered some ice up here, so I figured I might as well collect it. And I of course collected that gold.
It's one of these eyeball idiots. Should I fight the eyeball idiot?
I did indeed fight the lanky eyeball, and for all her outrageous dancing about, I took her out pretty easily and her leg shot skyward in death. I also stole her egg. I killed another nearby tall bird, explored the biome a little more while collecting goodies, and then headed home, testing out this wormhole on the way. It took me slightly closer to where I was headed, so that was mildly convenient. Good job, toothy butthole. Once back, I placed down a lightning rod. I dried off and collected flowers, but I made sure to leave some flowers around because they attract butterflies and bees. But I was still rather lost for sanity solutions, so I must admit I had a cheeky Google, because between my fashion efforts, flower picking, jerky, and crockpot food, I was out of ideas. My investigations revealed green mushroom caps cooked over a fire are a decent sanity source, and these seemed fairly plentiful in the birch biome, so this was great news. I placed down a lightning rod at this base, and in the morning me and my pig friend bashed up some hounds, and a bunch of rambunctious frogs got amongst the fray too. Some jerky was ready, so I collected and placed some new meat on to dry, and then I had a whinge about the rain.
I suck so much at coping with the flamin' rain. It's like not that big a deal, but then suddenly you're under attack where you desperately need to collect something, and then you just get saturated.
I chopped some trees, made some planks, and finally got an alchemy machine down at this second base. And I immediately used it, along with one of those gears I stole from the mech horse, to make a fridge. The green mushies poke up their sanity, restoring heads during this twilight part of the day cycle, so I grabbed a few of those to toast over the fire.
I'm on 149. Now I'm on 164, but I'm on 105. I think I lost some health. Lose 1 health for 15 sanity? Okay. We're onto something now.
I was pleased to make use of the icebox too, as this slows spoilage rates greatly. But tell me, did you notice anything different on day 21? What about day 22? Can you see that rather aggressive orange hue invading the land?
Oh, okay. It's summer. It's making toasty noises. Sizzling noises. Can make a straw hat? Why haven't I not been wearing straw hats this whole time? It says helps you stay cool and dry, so it would have helped me stay dry. For goodness sake.
The straw hat wasn't enough though, as I soon began to suffer a loss of health due to the overwhelming heat. And beyond that, I had never experienced summer before, so I had no idea what to do to keep cool.
This is the only thing I can think of to do.
Bro, how do you stay cool? I'm wearing a straw hat. What do you want from me?
I mean, there's ice. Do I just eat ice?
If I'd taken some time to look through the crafting options, there are of course multiple ways to combat the heat, but I'd been too busy dealing with the travails of spring that I hadn't thought about the onset of summer. Entering the cave stopped the damage and eventually cooled me down too, so at least I had that going for me. I explored the caves a little, and once night fell I emerged hoping to track down some spider's silk.
Alright, let's go fight some... Wait, it's hot? How is it still hot in the... It's evening.
Honestly, how dare it be hot in the evening? I took on some spiders, but true dark fell before I was able to snag myself some silk, and even though the spiders engaged in epic warfare with an eyeball plant, I was unable to yoink myself any spoils. And so my quest for the silk had failed, and when I returned to camp, I was chased by these idiots.
I don't know how to deal with this. No! Eat this. That gave no health. Wear the hat. Run towards the resurrection thingy.
So that is an anticlimactic death. I picked up all my stuff and I managed to hang up some more meat to dry before the heat came on strong, and I headed to hide in the caves. But even in the caves, I was still taking damage.
I thought it'd be cool down here. It was cooler down here yesterday, wasn't it? Am I supposed to... Maybe I can sit in the shade of a tree? In the shade of the tree. Oh, it said a welcome respite.
Okay, the shade of a tree. By that logic, I worked out that an umbrella or parasol would be beneficial too.
In retrospect, a lot of that should have been obvious. It's like, what do we do when we're hot? Okay, I'm getting hot again. Respite?
I collected some grass and noticed some was actually dying due to the heat, and I found that relatable. I continued using the only weapon I had against the heat, shade, and I scrounged around for whatever I could to keep my health up. But it seemed to be getting hotter day by day, so on day 25 I was forced into the caves where I basically just stood in the shade of pine trees before emerging at night.
Lean to, escape the heat to restore sanity. Oh, okay. I can make that, I think. Luxury fan.
And I almost let myself die to some stupid bats.
Oh, bro, I'm so low. I didn't realize I was taking so much damage.
I collected some jerky and continued to cling on to life. And I managed to make a siesta lean too, but I'd forgotten an important fact.
This idiot... That's right, she doesn't sleep.
So this character cannot use the lean-to. Yet another failed attempt at escaping the heat. It was back into the caves on day 26, but it wasn't looking good.
I've got shade from a tree. I've got my parasol, I got my hat. Please, please. Oh, I'm dead. I'm definitely dead.
I spent all of spring trying to figure out how to deal with Flamer being wet. I just didn't know what was coming.
Well, I unlocked someone. Excels in battle. Absorbs the power of fallen foes, only eats meat.
That was enough for me, so in I went for attempt number 2 with Wigfrid the performance artist. Honestly, that first playthrough as the librarian was a bit disappointing, but I'd now reacquainted myself with the game, I'd gotten a decent handle on what to expect from spring and summer, and I had myself a character supposedly possessed of great combat prowess, so I was feeling much better about this second attempt.
Bro, start with full meat. Oh, hold on. Melted mini glacier, and the rabbits are here. It's not spring. It's autumn.
This meant I had 3 whole seasons to prepare for another go at summer, so that felt manageable.
Start with a battle spear and a battle helm. Can I make these? Yeah, I can craft them as well. Oh, they cost gold though. Right, if those cost gold, then I want to find a pig king.
I did the usual, collecting up a storm, including a bounty of gold. And as I explored, I kept mostly to the edge of the map, hoping to uncover the entirety of it and get a feel for where all the key landmarks were. I cooked 2 of my meat on a fire early on day 2 and carried on, whacking down a science machine to prototype a hammer so I could demolish some pig houses, burning down some trees for charcoal, making an alchemy machine and destroying the science one, and employing a little trick to save bag space.
So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a crockpot, right? If I don't place it, I didn't place it, now I can put it down wherever I want.
I did likewise for a fire pit and got back on the move. I cooked and ate my remaining 2 meat, and I was alarmed when some rain came, but it was a comparably light fall, nothing like them spring rains. Nonetheless, I began collecting flowers towards a parasol. I whacked a frog and claimed its legs, I whacked a mechano horsey too, and I found the pig king. So I figured I may as well murder some of his loyal subjects for their meat. Wigfred actually gains 5 sanity and 5 health for every kill, and she has a damage buff and a damage resistance buff, so I was loving it. In fact, this character felt overpowered. I came away with 6 meat for my troubles. I placed down my crockpot and it wasn't exactly a strategic placement, but I was hungry, so what are you gonna do? And I made a bunch of meatballs. I had a fair bit of berry and carrot filler, so I was able to make 5 before getting on the move once more. I demolished some more pig houses, growing my stacks of cut stone and planks to 10 apiece, and my stack of pig skins to 16. And I bumbled into this desert biome.
Whoa, what the heck? Pick cactus. Ow. Pick tumbleweed. There's a rabbit in there? What the heck?
There was another chessboardy type area up here, so I killed the horse, but fled these zappy nerds before getting in a battle with the big charging chonker.
Oh, he destroyed a tree. What a beast. He's knocking over so many trees. I'll come back for that. I think it's better off that I explore for now.
I hammered some bones and collected bone fragments and a hound's tooth, and before long I'd uncovered this much of the map. The morning of day 5 saw me collecting more gold in this mosaic biome, and I headed through this wormhole and popped out further east, where I found my first spider nest, which I destroyed while cooking some more meatballs. I destroyed a couple more nests as I explored this pine forest, as silk is very handy for plenty of crafting recipes. And by night I'd done a loop of the entire edge of the forest, so I moved into another desert biome. This one had lots of angry doggies. I killed a few and my helmet broke, so I made myself a new one.
Does this thing like summon hounds if you attack it? I think it does.
It is indeed a hound spawner. They didn't have those in the base game. I activated the touchstone and claimed some free pig skins, and as I wandered the desert, I couldn't help but think, holy moly, that's a lot of gold, and that's a lot of dogs.
There's so many of them though. I don't really want to fight a billion hounds right now.
I did kill quite a few though, building up a decent stack of monster meat. These kills kept my health and sanity topped up, so it was smooth sailing compared to the sanity troubles of my first attempt.
Oh, hello. Hello. Some of you guys just in the wild. Oh, I might have had.
There was yet another chessboard area, so another horse softened my wrath.
Okay, we've explored a lot of the map. What is this? What is this?
I waited until morning, and whatever these may be, ultimately they are delicious. A whopping 3 meat. I was certainly finding a great many food sources in my travels. I wandered through a bee biome, a rocky biome, a birchy biome, and a little savanna, and I began to think about where to build my base.
Near a frog pond is a good idea for spring because a million frogs appear when it's pouring. So I think somewhere near rabbits and beefalo is probably the go for autumn and winter. And then in spring, maybe I can move.
I had a quick look through this wormhole and discovered this swamp down south, before setting up a base in this little savanna with some traps down to catch rabbits. I collected nearby, including burning down some trees for charcoal. I placed a bird trap down to begin collecting some feathers, and as day 9 dawned, I placed a lightning rod and a fridge. I made an umbrella and a fishing rod, just to learn the recipe so I would be able to craft them while on the go if necessary. And with the base now established, I headed back out with a decent stock of food and a fresh ham bat for slapping my enemies. To the south, I found a much larger savanna, featuring some beefalo and angry pigs valiantly defending this giant patch of grass. I killed them all.
Oh, what is this? What the hell? Whoa! Whoa! What the hell? Ah! Okay.
I found a fire rod, and I took the opportunity to collect a stack of 40 ash. I killed some spiders and a couple of beefalo, and it's fair to say this lady's combat speciality was making things fairly simple for me. As you can see, my sanity remained maxed out, just because I kept slapping idiots until they died. And suddenly, I had a stack of 16 meat and 10 wool. I headed into the swamp and killed a bunch of tentacles, as I wanted to collect some tentacle spots. I found another touchstone, covered plenty of territory, and collected a bunch of reeds while I was at it.
Oh, green mush tree. Oh. I'm all the way back up here.
I finally found my second tentacle spot at the edge of the swamp, so I immediately headed west to explore another bee biome and savanna, collecting silk as I went.
Oh, here we go. This is a good find. Finally. Took me a while to find you, my friend.
Long live Chester. I dumped a bunch of stuff in him and kept on keeping on, taking note of old mate Parrot's location and collecting whatever took my fancy, and soon I'd fully discovered the edge of the map down this way, so I headed back north, killing some random ugly fish dinguses on the way. I killed some spiders too, but left this nest intact as it was relatively close to my base, and I figured a never-ending supply of spiders to kill was wise to maintain health and sanity, and of course to get silk. I arrived back at base with tons of stuff to dump in the fridge, and I'd now explored the edge of the entire map, so I asked this question.
What do I do now? I feel like I conquered the world.
I got to cooking for a start, and this kept me busy for a while. I grabbed some ice from nearby and tested if I could use it as filler in the crockpot, and I could indeed. By evening, I had plenty of meals in the fridge.
Now I've got a raincoat ready for... If this chest somehow gets destroyed, I will cry.
It began raining, so I grabbed my umbrella and had a look through my crafting options in preparation for the various seasons ahead of me. I wanted to be ready for the heat, the cold, and the wet. For now though, I made a net with which I caught some butterflies, and I placed a few drying racks on which I strung up some meat. And with food for days, almost everything I needed in prep for winter, and an easy way of managing sanity and health, I found myself in the odd position of feeling comfortable in this game. Can you believe that? And so I randomly began placing down stone walls.
Oh, I made it higher. Is that good? I didn't mean to do that.
There was plenty of stone nearby, so I collected a bunch, and after an encounter with some pesky hounds, I tried placing down a wooden gate. Firstly, I think I left too big a gap, and secondly...
Did I build my walls stupidly? What have I done?
I ended up with this glorious gate set up, and I built the wall out a little more before spending a day collecting stuff, mainly wood, which I used to place a random gate here at the end of this unfinished wall. And then...
Alright, let's go try and find a coliphant.
So my ridiculous wall project was halted midway through, and off I went. I killed some spiders first, because why not? And soon I was tracking the beast, digging at these suspicious dirt piles which led me all the way to the swamp. And there, I lost the trail. As I was trying to find it in the dark, I started feeling a bit chilly, signaling winter's imminent arrival. Which is exactly why I wanted the trunk, by the way, as you can use it to make a nice cozy jacket.
Just somewhere here. Right? Where the hell did it go?
Alas, even in the morning light, I was unable to pick up the coliphant's trail. I settled for some inland exploring and tall bird slapping, and before long I'd filled in a lot of the blanks on the map. I found the classic little farm area, and I planted some seeds, cause why not? And I of course slapped any spiders in the vicinity.
I need filler for food, there's tons down here. I don't think it disappears in winter, right? Maybe it does. I don't think the berries do. The carrots might, so I might just pick the carrots while I can.
So I collected 10 carrots. I started taking damage from this night's chill, so I headed back to base to properly insulate myself from the coming winter. I had my thermal stone heating up by the fire, I made a winter hat, and then I figured it would be wise to set up a chest next to the touchstone so I'd have materials if I ever died. So I wormholed down to the swamp touchstone and whacked down a chest.
This should keep me going if I die, right? Bit of warmth, can fight, can make all the basics.
It got frosty by the time I returned home, and I hadn't fought anything for a while, so I actually had a significant health and sanity deficit for once. I ate some jerky to remedy that, and in the morning there was a notable blue hue to the environment.
Believe that means winter is here. We'll see snow in the next couple of days.
Some hounds arrived, so I cleaned them up.
It's great for my sanity and my health, much appreciated.
I placed a couple more drying racks, and then I realized I didn't have the materials to make another beanie.
I might have trouble getting far without the hat, so I think hat is priority. Hello penguins, welcome to the party.
I took out a great many spiders to farm some silk and top up my health and sanity, and the nest had upgraded to tier 3, so I destroyed it and replaced it with a tier 1 nest that dropped. And with that, I had enough silk to make another beanie. I slapped it on my head, collected a little, and then mused by the fire.
I thought that at the change of seasons you got bosses in Reign of Giants. I made it through till summer last time, I didn't see a boss. Made it through till winter. It's pretty much winter now, right? No boss is forthcoming.
So where are them bosses at? I headed out with a toasty thermal stone and my beanie in the morning and spent the day collecting materials.
Look at all these eggs. Do they fall asleep and I can steal them maybe?
And so I returned to the penguin's lair after dark.
I stole one. Where are the others? I saw there were heaps here before.
I tried another group of penguins further west, and sadly they had no eggs to purloin. In the morning I hit up the savannah hoping to take down some beefalo, but they were afflicted with some bright red buttocks, and I couldn't seem to lure just one or two away. The whole herd was intent on headbutting me.
Chester's gonna die. He's gonna get beefalo bashed.
So that was a fail, and I came home empty-handed. I tried again on day 24, and this time I managed to lure 2 away to their doom. I killed the grass protector pigs too, and to withstand the cold I burned bushes for quick bursts of warmth. I chowed down on some jerky and hung up fresh meat on the drying racks, and with the dawn I was determined to find a winter coliphant. I'd made some darts to help me in my quest, because from experience it's hard to catch up to coliphant to whack them in melee range, so enraging them from a distance is the strategy.
Where is it? Here he is.
I shot a fire dart at it, and then slapped it with my ham, earning a juicy 8 meat and a winter colophant trunk.
Alright. Oh, what the hell is this? Pierogi. Is that because it had an egg in it? I think it is. Alright, let's test this. 100 health, 62. Ooh. 40 health restored, not bad.
So that delicious penguin egg I stole helped me discover a new health restoring dish. Great news. I used the winter colophant trunk to make a puffy vest, the tooltip for which says warm enough for winter storms, and I slipped it on and headed out to try and pilfer more eggs. Unfortunately there were none to be found, so I settled for picking at some ice. In the morning I fended off a couple of hounds, and despite the effort I went to make the puffy vest, I opted to leave it behind because I wanted the backpack inventory space, and I figured I'd just burn stuff if I needed warmth. So much for the puffy vest, I guess.
Alright, we're gonna track down the walrus fella. He's coming for me. He just runs like an absolute nerd. Ow. There we go. Get some. Oh, what the heck? I got a frozen. We got the walrus tusk, so we can get the walking stick. Now we burn down the forest.
I was sick of collecting wood to keep the winter fire burning, so I figured getting a whole bunch of charcoal was the play, and so
we burned down the forest.
I ended up with 80 charcoal in my bags, and I figured I might as well finish exploring the forest while I was there. I found Maxwell's door.
It's like staring into the abyss. Maybe later, maybe later.
I killed some spiders, and I headed home through the nearby wormhole. Once there, I realized my stack of stale meatballs was dwindling, so I got to cooking. I tended the drying racks, and I made myself a walking stick.
This helps me run faster, and since I run faster, I'm now willing to make a piggyback, I think.
The piggyback has 4 more slots, but it makes you run a little slower. But with the walking stick to offset that speed loss, the inventory space was most welcome. I wandered over to the Pig King's domain on day 28 because I figured it was time to establish a second base. After building a fire pit and crockpot, I headed over to the nearby desert, as I had only explored its border so far, so I figured I should see what was in the middle. Predictably, there was desert in the middle. I continued using my burn stuff willy-nilly strat to stay warm.
The flaming tumbleweed. The tumbleweed caught the tree on fire. That's outrageous.
I revisited this chessboard and fought both the Rhino fella and the Zappy Zappy Bishop, and I came away with a bunch of gears, a couple of purple gems, and some marble. And I smacked this vulture to death with my walking stick. All told, it was a wonderful visit to the desert, with many a tumbleweed and many a display of pyromania. Back at the new camp, this cheeky pig was freeloading, enjoying the light and warmth, and I set up a chest and fridge before musing about my food situation.
In some ways, food's way easier in the expansion, because I can get food from here. Random birds, random cactus, ice as a filler, and then if you just get monster meat, you just got meatballs for days, mate.
In the morning, I gave the Pig King some trinkets I'd found inside tumbleweeds, and he showered me with gold as payment. I tried giving him some other random stuff too. He gave me 1 gold in return for some jerky, and likewise for 1 pig skin.
So I can just kill his family, give their skin to him, and he'll give me gold. Wonderful news.
I spent some time collecting, topping up my twig stores and claiming the gnome and box thing from this ruin, and in the morning, I dug some graves. Each grave you desecrate causes a pretty big hit to your sanity, but I earned myself 4 red gems from my troubles, and slapping this cat with some ham restored some sanity, so no harm, no foul. Oh, and I'd been tracking a colophant's suspicious dirt piles through the night, so I angered the beast with a dart and took him out, claiming another delicious pile of meat. I gave the Pig King the gnome I'd found for yet more gold, which is very handy by the way, as I'd been continually crafting battle helms which cost 2 gold a pop. I decided I'd had enough of these nerds stealing my fire's warmth, so I evicted them.
Cattail? Oh, did you guys get into a fight with a cat? Ooh, give me the cattail. What does a cattail do? It's the tail of cute meat.
And this is when I finally realized the big piece I'd completely missed during that summer of death in my first attempt.
Endothermic fire. Wait, what? Maybe you can use this in summer. Bro, I had no idea.
I'm just glad I discovered it a season and a half in advance of summer for this time round. I took out some invading hounds in the morning, including a frosty one, and I slapped down an alchemy machine and spent some more time sussing out my crafting options. And by that I mean I hurled abuse at myself for completely missing the endothermic fire in my first playthrough.
The penguins left. Give me your eggs.
I collected some ice and made one of the recipes I'd spied that I hoped would help me out come summer.
Alright, ice cube. Oh, you do wear it on your head. Okay.
Quite frankly, that's the most beautiful hat I've ever seen. Except I made it slightly early, so I hope it doesn't melt by the time summer rolls around. I left it in the fridge, so surely not, right? I cooked a bunch of pierogi with those penguin eggs, and I was now satisfied I'd set up a worthy second base in preparation for spring and summer. So I headed back to base number 1. The snow had receded, there were spiders to murder, and I claimed the spoils of an abandoned penguin settlement. It was a good day. The eggs from that spot were all close to spoiling though, so I made sure to cook them into pierogi as quick as possible. I collected through the night, and in the morning, a hint of spring rain greeted me.
Birdcage. Over here. You? In prison. Beautiful. He's got a pirate hat on. Now, can I feed him monster meat? He gave me an egg. He just poops infinite eggs out. Look at this. Okay, that's ridiculously strong.
This is especially strong because you can give the birdie a bunch of near rotten food and she'll return fresh eggs. Those are some expiry date hacks. I headed out to more thoroughly explore, beginning with some combat versus these sparky mech bishops. I also fought a bunch of bees, and they dropped the bundling wrap blueprint for me, an invaluable find. I destroyed some hives too to get my hands on a couple of beeswax. I wandered back into the forest I'd arsoned a few days back and killed a bunch of spiders. I headed east into the desert where I fought some more mechs and admired Maxwell's signature.
What is this? It's an M. M for Maxwell.
I had a stack of 5 pierogi, but it's best eaten to restore health. So I put down a random desert crockpot and began cooking meatballs to sate my hunger. I was running low on gold, so gold I grabbed on day 39. I also took out the hound spawners near the second touchstone, as I imagined respawning next to a bunch of doggies wouldn't be ideal. I placed a chest down too, with a few of the essentials in it for when that day comes.
Oh my gosh, what on earth? What is that big chunky boy? You look a bit ugly. It's just called a wet goose. I wish I could ride it into battle. Oh, I think it's angry. No, fight the moose. Ah! It's trying to headbutt me.
So I don't know if this moose goose is one of the giants that spawns seasonally, but it's definitely a giant. Also, it makes me curious about the logistics of a moose and a goose mating. But that's neither here nor there. It was time to defeat the big buffer. As you can see, my initial strategy was to rope some hounds into the fray.
Epic battle. Hound v moose. Leave Chester out of this. Leave Chester out of this. But that moose makes the stupidest noise I've ever heard in my life.
Before long, the hounds were dead, and it was time to get in there and slap the moose goose with my hand bat.
It made me drop my weapon.
She executed some rather long-range headbutts, and she let out a ridiculous scream that caused me to drop my weapon. Also, she had a rather large egg.
Something is bouncing around inside. I bet.
If I went in for an attack, it seemed pretty much impossible to outrange her attack. So I tried to get behind her for the dodge, which worked a few times, but I mostly just tanked the hits, and thanks to my helmet, I didn't take too much damage. But it did begin to add up, so I ate some pierogi to replenish my health.
Hey! We got the wet moose goose. Yes! The wet moose goose is no more. Wet down, fella.
After a musical night chasing spindly fingies, I returned to inspect the egg.
Can I hammer it? I can. Oh my gosh. It's electric. Ah! Oh my god! What the hell? No. I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't mean to. It was an accident.
I did not think there would be an army of tornado chickens in that egg, but here we are.
Oh, they stunned themselves. What, there's an electrified goat chasing? What are you doing? Why is there an electric goat chasing me as well? What the hell's going on? Oh, they're getting electrified by the tornado. Leave Chester out of this.
They dazed themselves after each spin attack, so that's when I ducked in to strike, and I managed to start picking them off.
The electrified goat's getting in on it. Go, electrified goat. Why aren't you attacking? Oh, the goat, they're killing each other. The goats teamed up on them. Go, you angry goats. Absolute beasts. Leave me alone. Oh, what the hell? They killed Chester! No!
The Sparky Haunsters had murdered my best friend. Devastation. Also, this one chased me for ages.
Oh, that got out of hand. Rest in peace, Chester. Your eye bone can stay here. Wait a minute. What the hell? You can just replace Chester by putting the eye bone back down? I should never have mourned you, you cheeky bugger.
Okay, so not so much devastation after all. I used the light of the full moon to collect the stuff Chester had dropped, but apparently this one goat wasn't sleepy.
I thought if you lost Chester, it was game over. Oi! You're supposed to be sleeping.
In the morning, I left the desert with my head held high, having successfully taken out a family of moose gooses. I killed some spiders in the forest, and I returned to base where I made myself a luxury fan using the goose feathers I'd collected.
Use? Oh gosh. It made me freezing. Okay, well, we can use the luxury fan during summer if desperate.
I tended to my drying racks and spent some time making sense of my overflow of materials, but honestly, not much sense was made. If we're honest, this base is a total mess. I chopped trees all of day 43, collecting 3 stacks of wood, and I took out this eyeball plant because its presence near my base offended me. I placed another chest and cleaned up some of the mess before heading southeast to finish exploring this rocky biome, and while there I collected yet more gold. Beyond that, there wasn't anything of interest in this area. I killed some bees and they dropped 2 more bundling wrap recipes, which is outrageous, and I killed some spiders too. Gotta feed the need for violence. By the way, by this point I had a second fridge down, and I placed a 5th chest too. I made some gunpowder, but I wasn't sure how to make use of it as I lacked a gun, and I finally made a tent, which I barely used because in my experience it's mainly useful for regaining sanity, and I had very few sanity issues. I tended to my drying rack once again, and I had a juicy stack of 18 jerky in the fridge by this point, and I headed to kill yet more spiders. I was pleased to note that this nest had evolved to tier 3 once more, as I believe this means the Spider Queen boss can spawn, and I had her on my list of bosses to conquer. I continued chugging along, cooking stuff, collecting stuff to ensure I always had a decent supply of all materials in my bag, and I made a habit of checking daily to see if the mama spider was ready to play.
Spider Queen.
The hounds were baying, so I thought why not have a good old-fashioned hound v beefalo rumble, which was my default strategy for dealing with hounds my entire playthrough of the base game. It was a glorious rumble indeed.
Does Spider Queen ever want to spawn? Come on, Spider Queen.
I wandered over to my other base, collecting as I went, and I was impressed to find the ice and ice hat I'd left in the fridge hadn't melted at all. I'd been intending to place an endothermic fire down here, but I forgot to bring niter, so I wandered off again in the morning, and I figured I should probably collect as much ice as possible before summer hits to ensure I was able to make plenty of ice hats if necessary. And of course it's also good as filler in the crock pot. I made 2 wax paper ready to use as bundling wrap. I checked on my Spider Queen, but she was still shy, and I placed down an endothermic fire at this base, and queued up another ready to place down wherever I wanted. These fires burn blue and of course cool you down rather than warm you up, so they will help me out in summer as normal fire does in winter. That night, I caught my first firefly, and now it kind of felt like I was just waiting for summer. I made another ice cube hat and placed it in the fridge, and I figured my hambats would rot extra fast in summer's heat, so I decided to hunt down a tentacle spike from the swamp. I did this tentacle destroying dance over and over and got my hands on one. It wasn't truly summer yet, but for some reason I thought it was, so I got a little over enthusiastic with my ice hat, and when I was fighting this tentacle, I lacked the protection of my Viking helmet.
Oh gosh, I nearly died. I'm out.
I killed some spiders and ate some jerky to replenish my health before killing this eyeball plant that had appeared out of nowhere.
Got one here too. Maybe I can just lure hounds to it. Could be a good strat.
And so I planted the 2 next to each other, just a short walk from my base, and I figured they'd be handy to lure enemies to in a pinch. I collected up a storm in the nearby area, because collecting stuff never goes out of fashion in this game, and the next day, yet more collecting, gold specifically. I got kind of wet though.
Standing around in the rain, getting kinda wet. Better not die. Where's my torch?
The next day, I collected yet more gold.
Whoa, I can press caps lock? Caps lock does this? No way.
That was a cool find, but I proceeded to completely forget about it and I never used it again. I headed back to the swamp, and the plan was to collect as many tentacle spikes as possible so I had a good supply of weapons to keep me going. I had a great start, with 5 in a row dropping.
I don't know what the drop rate is, but that feels very lucky. There's 2 more over here? What the heck? These are the ones I left here earlier.
So that was a successful expedition.
Spider Mum, are you here yet?
She was not there yet, sadly. I left my abundance of spikes lying around my base, and the hounds were baying, so I had an opportunity to test the eyeball plant strategy. It proved effective. It turns out hounds are weak in the face of overwhelming eyeballs.
The eyeballs ate all their teeth though, so that probably wasn't the best idea. Teeth are pretty useful.
I collected ice, made myself a marble suit of armor, which I plan to use in the mines. I spent some time giving random stuff to the Pig King, and I needed fireflies, but for some reason I didn't make a net to catch the absolute abundance that emerged during the dark part of night. I killed a horde of spiders on day 56, and the land had finally adopted an orange hue, so I realized summer was actually close now. I made a miner hat using a firefly, some gold and a straw hat, and I queued up a fridge, crockpot, and chest in preparation for my dive into the mines. That night I planned to catch a bunch more fireflies, as these can be used as fuel to keep the mining hat working. But apparently they didn't want to spawn in the biomes near my base, so I found 0 before day broke. And on day 57, I began to feel the heat. Do you recall how this threw me into a ridiculous spiral of sweaty destruction on my first playthrough as the librarian? Yeah, well this time I just chucked some charcoal on the endothermic fire, and I cooled down my thermal stone and shoved it in my pants, and I of course had an ice cube on hand if needed. And then it was time to spelunk.
Oh, that's a big That's a big spider's nest. Oh crap.
I set up camp just near the entrance and cleared out the spiders, destroying the nest and claiming it for myself. That night, I headed upstairs and caught 5 or 6 fireflies. In the morning, I headed back into the mines, popped the mining helmet on my head and began to explore.
Oh, he ate the whole stack. I didn't want you to eat the whole stack, you absolute beast.
I don't know what I expected to happen, but RIP 40 Flint. There were some berries and mushrooms to collect, so I began stocking my subterranean fridge, and I wandered into this mushroom tree biome featuring some red-eye rabbits. I learned in my playthrough of the base game that these fellas are vegans, and they will attack if they smell meat on you. So as you can see, I had no meat on me.
Oi! Oi, oi, oi! Oh crap, I picked up the monster meat. No, I didn't mean to do that. It was an accident. Alright, my hat is on 45%. If I add another firefly to it, add fuel, it adds 40%. Not bad.
I destroyed another spider's nest and continued exploring, employing the same strategy as my upstairs explorations, with a goal to uncover the edges of the map first. But before long, my thermal stone had lost its chill and the heat began to get to me. I was getting hungry too. Also, there was an earthquake. I returned to my cave base, but I had no meat down here. And you may recall this lovely lady eats only meat, so I headed upstairs to have a feed. I wandered over to this birchy biome, because I noticed earlier it was replete with fireflies, and sure enough, as darkness fell, it was a firefly bonanza. I collected 13 before the sun rose. I continued my mine's exploration, heading west into this rocky biome.
Spill it, Mark. Spill it. What the hell is this? What is this? Oh, what the?
Since I need the light from my mining helmet, I can't wear my usual Viking helmet for defense. So I put my marble armor on for the fight against the shadow beast.
What? I killed it. What the hell? What is this thing? What do I do with this?
I was stumped, but it looked like a crack down into an even deeper cave. And I'd seen comments about the mysterious ruins, so I felt like there should be an entrance somewhere. I kept on, and though I did spy 2 more orange glowy cracks, I found no such entrance.
We've got the edge of this area. That's good.
Sanity is constantly drained in the dark down here, so I took out some spiders to give myself a much needed mental health boost before returning to camp for a feed. I decided I needed a better food solution down here, as I'd been leaving my meat in the fridge so the bunnies didn't attack me. But that meant I had to stay relatively close to camp. So I made some bundling wrap and spent some time cooking fresh meatballs using monster meat and random filler I'd found around the mines.
Alright, that should do. Chuck this in here so the pigs can't find it. I'm pretty sure they can't smell it when it's wrapped up. I believe I read someone's comment to that effect. And we go fight spiders because my sanity is getting low.
I said pigs there, but I meant crimson-eyed bunnies. You get the idea. I headed east and found some of these stinky bats, which are actually quite handy because they died in one hit but still granted me 5 health and sanity.
We have the biggest tentacle you've ever seen in your life. Holy crap. These are fuel too, right? Yeah, they give 20%. That's not bad.
So between the light bulbs and fireflies, I no longer had any worries about keeping my mining hat juiced.
Why would I attack this? Should I attack it? Surely that's a terrible plan.
I got a bit hot, so I stood next to a light bulb plant with an ice cube on my head for a bit to cool down, before heading back to camp to cool down my thermal stone once more. While there, I chopped down some trees, as I was running low on charcoal with which to fuel my fire.
Oi! No! Oi! Give that back, you little rat.
Despite the moleworm slobber on my thermal stone, I picked it up and got on the move again, heading into this rather large mushroom tree biome.
Oh! What is this? I feel obliged to attack it.
I found another monstrous egg over here, and I gave in to my impulse.
What is that? What the hell? Why am I fighting a snail? What the heck?
Despite his defensive prowess, I soon vanquished the ugly slug.
I got your number, snail. Oh, it's a slurtle?
I attacked the egg again and it was a repeat, so I guess this is a way to farm slurtle slime, though I had no idea what that was for. The heat was soon getting to me once more, so I headed to camp to cool down before heading north, clearing one of these swamp spider nests out of the way. And clearly there was an endless battle between spider and tentacle going on here, and judging by the 300 kilos of spider glands lying around, the spiders weren't having a good time of it. I explored this large bulby biome, and by this point my sanity was beginning to suffer, so I decided to head to the surface to top it up with some spider murder. The ice cube kept me cool up here, but it also made me wet as it melted down the back of my neck, and wetness drained sanity too, so I had to stand next to the fire to dry off. I burned down a bunch of trees as I wanted more charcoal, and on day 66 I resorted to the tried and true flower picking strategy to top up my sanity to full. And as I was heading to burn down yet more forest, the moment I'd been waiting for the past 4 seasons finally arrived.
A worthy foe approaches. What does that mean? Oh gosh. Problem is I'm gonna get too hot. What is that? That noise is terrifying, bro. Am I under attack or not? Oh! What is that? Oh no! There's a fiery wasp, idiot. Dragonfly saliva.
I managed to escape the beast's notice for now, so I headed to base to cool down and prepare myself, and in the morning, I engaged.
He's destroying bees. Or he's... Maybe I want to fight him at night. He looks toasty. Oh gosh. Ow!
I got right in there, but just like the moose goose, the extreme giantness of this giant made it difficult to dodge the attacks, so I kind of just tanked most of them, and thanks to my armor I didn't take crazy amounts of damage, but I still took a fair bit, especially because it's so hot next to the toasty bloke that you start taking burning damage as soon as you go in for the attack. I lured it towards the spiders, wondering if a giant battle would ensue, but the insect seemed to lose interest, so I cleaned up the spiders myself before heading back to base quickly to cool off, and when I returned...
Where'd he go? He didn't despawn, did he? I wanted to kill him. I didn't think he would despawn. Maybe he went further south? Why would he go further south though?
I kept up my search, but the dragonfly giant was gone. A missed opportunity and a sad day indeed. I headed back into the depths and chopped wood for a bit before heading east into this bat and bat poo biome, featuring an abandoned camp. There are a few little pine forests too, at which I was happy to top up my stacks of twigs and grass. And I was amazed at how large the map was down here.
It just keeps going. Holy crap, it's huge.
During this earthquake, a little mole buddy had a rough time of it.
Pick up moleworm, what the heck?
I wandered through this rocky biome, high-fiving some rock lobsters as I went, and I unpacked my lunch for a quick feed before rebundling and carrying on. My thermal stone was staying cool much longer, so I surmised we'd passed the height of summer's heat. After exploring much of the east, I did finally get a little toasty though, so I headed back to camp before taking on some spiders to regenerate sanity.
Whoa! Whoa, 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 how dare you?
Despite how terrifying that tentacle eruption was, I decided it was a good idea to attack.
Ow! Getting whipped, man. Ah, that was a bad plan. That was a bad plan.
I continued north, claiming a circle of red mushies, enduring another earthquake, and exploring this huge light bulb biome. And I found this bunnyman village with quite a solid population. I fought another crack shadow, and I stared at the crack a bit, as I was still confused. I wanted to go in the crack.
Oh, what the hell? What is that? Oh! That was illegal.
This shaggy worm weirdo wasn't too hard to defeat. All it took was a few tactical slaps to the face.
Hey, glowberry. I'm not picking up the monster meat because that is a trap. Glowberry, interesting.
I headed upstairs to see if I could make anything using the glowberry.
Moggles. Grants the wearer smelly vision.
This recipe requires 2 live mole rats, and I only had 1 of those, so I couldn't make it just yet. I headed back down and took stock of my exploration efforts so far.
I've explored pretty much everything to the north. There's just a gap here. I think it's like a bit of swamp, basically. Maybe some mushroom biome. I want to explore this because I feel like there might be an entrance. I've got more southwest, more south, southeast is done, and I got more just straight east. Okay.
So I had a fair bit more to uncover, but I was determined to find that fabled entrance to the ruins, and I figured this area to the west might be my best bet, as I'd seen heaps of cracks there earlier. As you can tell, I was desperate to go in a crack.
What are these, by the way? These are like demon spiders.
I killed these 2 and then went to mine their spawner to destroy it.
Whoa. Hey!
I concluded these are just weird subterranean rock spiders. I wandered around the biome, but all the cracks seemed to have disappeared. I wondered if perhaps they only appear at a particular time of day.
Oh! See, it opened up.
I fought the shadow monster that came out, but ultimately I had failed to find anything that would lead me deeper to these ruins, which I was now beginning to doubt even existed. I was tempted to Google it, but I wanted to find it myself, organically. I had a last-minute idea. Maybe I needed to make some magical item in order to unlock the ruins. So I made a top hat, and I was going to make a prestidigitate, which is the first magic machine, but I didn't have time to catch the 4 rabbits required before the 100 days were up. And despite my failure to get into the ruins, I celebrated these first 100 days with some hound murder, including slapping a fiery hound who spontaneously combusted. I'd made it through all 4 seasons, and I felt well established to carry on in strength, especially with 2 touchstones in the wings. But unfortunately, I'd only managed to kill 1 giant, the moose goose. So let me know if I should return for 200 days, where my aim would be to defeat the seasonal giants and also finally find my way into the ruins beneath the mines, if they really do exist. Don't forget to give Enlisted a crack for some large-scale multiplayer battlefield fun. It's totally free, and using the link below, you'll get yourself some juicy bonuses.